of the most powerful and scary features there is in sheets or spreadsheets of any form is the ability to do mathematical functions. Now, there are hundreds of different ways to do these, so I'm going to show you a couple. If you want to look at it in more detail, go into the separate section on formula or functions. So here I've got two values. I've got a value in B3 and a value in C3. I've got 10 and 6, and I want to find the total of them. So the easiest and quickest way to do this one is I select the cell I want my answer to go into, and if I press equals, so straight away that is telling the spreadsheet that this is going to be a formula or a function. Now, I want to add together B3, add C3. So all I could type in now is I'll type in B3 plus C3. You'll notice as I've typed that, it started to select boxes. So you can see that B3 has gone into like an orangey colour, and that box has been highlighted in orange, and C3 has gone purpley. If I hit enter, it returns a value. So this cell has equaled B3 add C3. I've written myself a nice simple equation, and it gives me an answer. Now, there's a couple of important things we need to work on here. These underpin how formula and functions work. This is not 16 in this cell. I have not typed 16. I have titled this cell, the content of this cell is B3 plus C3. It's not 16 and it's not 10 plus 6. It is whatever is in this cell plus whatever is in this cell. So if I change one of these values, so for example, if I change that to an 8 and hit enter, my answer will adjust accordingly. It is dynamic, it is live, it is not 10 add 6. It is the content of this cell plus the content of that cell. If I change it significantly, my answer responds significantly as well. Similarly, I could adjust the operation by clicking in the calculation. At the moment it's B3 plus C3. I could change that into a subtraction, and it will react accordingly. Notice it's giving me a little advanced preview of the answer. So I can type in my basic calculations. If I wanted to, let's make this into 5 and see what happens there. It will go into a negative. I could also replace that subtraction sign by using the star, the one above the 8, so shift and 8, and it will give me a multiplication. If I wanted to make a division question, so I'm going to do 66 divided by 6, instead of a star, I could use the backslash, the one near the question mark down the right-hand side of the keypad. It'll perform a division for me. So I can use basic functions just by typing in the mathematical calculation, and it will dynamically solve them live for me. These are functions and can be adjusted, and there are other operations we can do as well that are much more in depth. There are also the ability, when you go to insert, the ability to insert functions, and you can pick from a whole range that we'll look at separately. What I've been doing here is similar to doing sum. Now, sum was what you'd do to add together more values than just a couple of values. A sum of two values seems a bit of a long-winded way of doing it. So literally just having this cell plus this cell. Just to show how flexible this could be, I'm going to put in a value over here as well. And I'm going to do equals this cell plus this cell. Notice this time, instead of typing in the references, I've just clicked on them. So once I put an equals, I can actually click in the cell to change to select the cell I want. And there we go, same as worked again. So my options are, I can write, as soon as I hit the equals, I can either write in the cell references, or I could actually click on the cell I want it to be. So I could click on B3, put in my operation, and then I could either type in C3, or I could click on the cell C3. Or I could type in A3 and click on the cell A3. I'm going to type in A3 this time to show that they both work. And the final option I have as well that's quite useful is if, I didn't really want to do that, I actually wanted it to be B3 plus C3, I could just go into here and I could get rid of the C, A, and change it to C. Lots of different options with formula, but that is the very, very basic one. Just write the operation out, but put your equal sign in first. The minute you put the equal sign in, it's telling the computer, it's telling the spreadsheet that you're wanting to do a calculation or use a formula or function.